Knice,
Yes, sir.
the engineer. Oh man, you know, I want to thank you first and foremost for allowing us to be here in Platinum
Yeah,
Studios
yeah.
with you,
Welcome,
man.
welcome, welcome home.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Studio.
As an engineer, man, for me being in the game a myriad of years, a lot of times we don't get that perspective from engineers' uh, mindset, right?
Okay.
Let's How long have you been engineering?
I've been an engineer for 19 years, about to be 20 years in January, and I started in high school.
Right, right.
Yep, yep.
What made you gravitate towards engineering?
I just had a love for music. I had a love for science, technology, um, and I just I went to high school. My high school was just full of artists and talented people. So like I wasn't a musician, but I just love creating music. I love being a part of that. And I graduated valedictorian out of high school. I was just in love with learning. I was just in love with learning science, anything, and just feels like audio engineering just encompassed all that together in one discipline.
Do you
You know?
feel it was therapeutic?
Yeah, I feel like that's when I'm fully myself, like 100%. That's what like every part of myself, everything I'm interested in, comes out at one time into one big art form. I love music, and then I like to geek out. I like technology. I like computers. You know what I mean? I like science. I like psychology. You know what I'm saying? I just love how layered the art form is. Like there's just so many dimensions, and to what we have to do.
Indeed. What was your first um, engineering session?
First engineering session, well, actually, it was in high school. Was in high school because I went to high school for the recording arts, Brooklyn School for Music and Theater, and we my physics teacher was actually my engineering teacher also, Mr. Baiza, and he which was like interesting to learn about physics and to learn about audio engineering at the same time because we learned about sound waves,
Mm-hmm.
electricity, conducting, etc. And then to be able to use it immediately to like make records and make songs was like super fun. But it was a program they had there, so and I just happened to have like the school full of like talented like kids. It
Right.
was it was like High School Musical but West Indian. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we used to record bass, record vocals. We had made a CD too our senior year. Like we made a CD with the school. We had pressed up as much as possible. We were selling it to raise funds for like senior trip. So it was like cool stuff. Like
Yeah.
to run around and make music with your peers
So
and
from that,
technology.
right, right. So from that, because you can be this young teenager. You can go to school for it. But what made you want to continue on in that journey?
Oh, I was in love. I was around. I caught the bug. I was already in love. I was 16 years old. I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. I was graduated valedictorian, and everybody was like, what do you want to be? And I was like, telling my mom, like, yo, I want to record rappers. She was like, I don't know, what are you talking about? Like I feel like nobody can understand that. That's what I wanted to do, and people didn't understand that it was a profession because like it was way more hidden back then. Like now, a lot of people understand that there's an engineer, there's a person playing that role. When I was a kid, you ain't even know who the, and I was a music fanatic.
Right.
So if there was something to know, like I would have knew. You know what I mean? If it was available knowledge, I just didn't know. Like I had to learn that like as I wanted to make money doing what I love to do.
Once again, who? Yeah. After that first experience, right in school,
Mm-hmm.
professionally, did you start off as an intern or did you jump into your first professional
Yeah.
session?
Yeah, no. I started as an intern professionally. While I was a senior in high school, I was in the after school program. That was for music technology. It's like we were learning Reason, and we were like there was a studio, and it was ran by a gentleman named Q Butter, out of Zayak Studios, and he gave me an opportunity when I was 17 years old. I was still in high school to work at his school. My mom gave me permission to go to work at his studio, and that's when I really got into learning the culture. So like I was recording in high school, but when I was in his studio, I was an intern, and I was learning and finding out what the culture was. It was like a big culture moment. It made me feel like okay, I'm involved. Like okay, now I see what's going on here. See the creative process, and learn what it is like on a cultural level outside of just theoretical.
Right. Fast forward. Now you hit an official studio,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not to say that Q Butter Studio wasn't official, right? So now you're not with Q Butter.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first official job
First,
as an engineer?
as an engineer, um, first official job. It's interesting because I could say Platinum Sound because Platinum Sound is such a big facility, but I feel like the things that I was doing at Q Butter Studio was very similar to what I was doing at Platinum. It kind of what allowed me to excel at this facility was that like I understood the language. I was already involved in the culture. I already knew how to record and track. I already had an ear, you know. So like the sessions weren't too different, you know. It wasn't like it was more equipment that you needed to learn, and you learned all that equipment and all that technology to know that like I always had what I needed to do what I needed to do. So like I could say Platinum if you want to say like this was an official facility, but Zayak Studios was an official studio too. It was more local for sure, but we were doing the same job.
Who was your first artist?
My first artist, shoot, I mean it depends because like all my high school friends was like my first artist that I was working with. You know what I mean? And
Name wise, let's just say outside of the local artist, your first.
There was an artist named G Baby who was under Memphis Bleak, and they was trying to make something happen, and that was going in a direction. And I worked with him at Zayak Studios, and that was like a big deal.
Mm.
And then he passed away.
Bless
But it was sad. But it was like my first time seeing an artist blowing up and seeing the energy around somebody, and having somebody with a name, have you under there like, yeah, this is gonna be the next. And as a kid, you can imagine, I'm like, yeah, like we gonna be the next, we out of here, like,
yeah, yeah.
So that was like my first. And my first situation where, now it's been 19 years. I had a lot of artists who either quit or they passed away or something happened. This was my first situation where it was like a reality, like, of what the creative community really is like, what it's like to try to make something happen. Sometimes things don't work out the way it's supposed to go, or, it was like my first, like, okay, like, this is what reality is. It isn't like some dream situation the way that they be making it and promoting it, like.
That part.
They be making it and promoting it like, yeah, she was so great. I saw her in the mall and we picked her right up, and now she's the biggest thing of all time. Like, wow, it's like
that process,
so
right?
Many stories, like there's so many stories, like so many careers and stuff that
So after G Baby, right? You experience right what it is, right, to be part of the process, right? Because what we fail to realize is that it's the engineer that dictates, right? That kind of choreographs that sound, right? Finalizes majority of the time that sound, right? You get this feel. G Baby gives you that. May he rest in peace. You move forward, right? You're still learning. You're still experiencing. That second wave. Who was that artist?
Second wave. It's tough to say that. I know. I'll give myself like an era. Like the next real big era was like the Rich the Kid, Jay Critch, Famous Dex era.
Okay.
Where we was like, I was working with Dex for like 3 years. But I was doing Rich Forever 3, and I did a record off of that. And I was like the next, like, okay, there's a wave happening because New York City was like when I got on as an engineer, it was like the beginning of a tough time for New York City. Like it was the beginning of when things just weren't working out. It was a lot of crazy politics going on. A lot of weird beefs, a lot of situations was breaking down, and a lot of structures. A lot of people were just leaving New York. Like, talent and resources were just like, yo, we're just gonna go to Atlanta and just win. Like, why am I gonna stay here and not win? I'm gonna just take this 3-hour flight, move my stuff down, and go. And it was like a lot of working with a lot of local artists and a lot of artists that I felt like were talented, but it just wasn't moving and shaking at the time.
Right.
It wasn't until like the internet wave kind of came back in a way where things became a little bit more easier out here. You know what I mean?
So, would you say that during that time, during that wave, a lot of what you were experiencing was by word of mouth?
Yeah, because word of mouth was more stronger. Because now it's like the internet. It's like the internet just made things way crazier. Like Dex will go live and he'll tell people my email, like, go send beats to my email right now. Send beats to my engineer. He'll just point the camera to me.
Yeah.
And like online, he'll be like, yo. I'm looking at crazy stuff. People DMing me like, people pulling up to the studio unannounced, like crazy stuff. Like that was like the word going out was like the internet really. And like a lot of my local clients just came from other clients, like people that people knew, But like that's when it was just like, all right, this is getting crazy, you know.
What do you think allowed the artist to gravitate towards you, right? Because once again, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when you're in a studio, right, there's this chemistry, right?
Yeah,
You know, from the producer to right the engineer. What made the artist comfortable?
just easy. It was speed. It was just speed and efficiency. It was because I was so used to the technology, used to like the programs and the software because of, and it's like also when you start really young, it's like it becomes a part of you in a different way. Like, you know what I mean? It's like super second nature. So at the time, like right now, like the technology is there for you to be fast and efficient and organized. But back then, it was very difficult to be fast, efficient, and organized. And when I'm coming up, like as an engineer, like my peers were a lot of them like just started, you know what I'm saying, or just got there, just came out of school, and they just. But me, because I was just so fast and efficient, it allowed people to think of their ideas. At a time where a lot of artists stopped writing, like artists were like, "We're gonna come in, we're gonna freestyle, we're gonna do this line by line," and to be able to do that and be fast enough was a big part of the creative process for them to come up with new lines and new information, whatever the case may be. So it was really just speed and efficiency, file management that I learned from like a big file management stuff I learned from Platinum. Like just the fact that I had your files and this 3 years later was like, yo, we working with this guy, But it was always speed and efficiency. It came to the point where people couldn't work without working with me because they work with someone else, but they're not fast enough. Their creative process is messed up. Their creative process isn't as streamlined. So I organized people's creativity, and I was fast enough to get those ideas.
Nice. And I know we're moving a little fast, right? But define what an engineer is.
An engineer is the creative professional. It's the professional there to help facilitate the process of taking somebody's ideas and making them into a product. And they just understand the technology and what's necessary to do that. So they're just in charge of facilitating using equipment or technology to turn somebody's ideas, whether it be music or whatever it is sonically, and turn it into a product that somebody else can play and experience and sell and use in whatever way that we be using music. So anybody who's a part of that process is to me is like an engineer.
Was there ever a time where artists come in, they're new to Knice as the engineer, right? But was a bit apprehensive when it came to sort of taking direction, right? Have you ever experienced where, because they were so used to their previous engineer, that when they came to you and you were like, can we do this?
Yeah, that's like such a normal situation. Like that's average. You know what I mean? It's like you go to a barbershop and you sitting there. You're like, yo, where's the flyer with all the pictures? I need a point at number 17 because this guy not gonna get this right. Yo, this right here.
Yeah.
You see this right here? And your barber's like, yo, but if I feel like if we did this, word, I feel what you're saying, dog. You know what I'm saying? That's what's up. But like, I need you to do exactly this. You know what I mean? It's like that all the time, And that trust, it gets built over time. And a lot of times, like, I get a lot of trust because of things I've done, sometimes in my accolades, or just I'll do something that just makes somebody say like, oh, he knows what's going on, or it's just always that trust thing. And that's just natural. And I get pushback all the time. Like, is this something you get all the time?
Right.
Right. And as an engineer, that's a big part, is that you understand it's a service that you're providing, So my job is to kind of like hack your imagination. Like, you have an idea, I'm trying to see the same shit you seeing and try to make that come to fruition, because that's the reason why I'm there in the first place,
Trust is very much, right?
Yeah. Trust changes the whole creative process. Like, it's a whole different process when there's trust versus when there's no trust. Almost completely different. Sometimes it's like almost no talking when there's trust sometimes. Like, because we just already,
the chemistry
somebody
is
can
there.
tell me to do something they already know is done. They don't have to sit there and wait and watch and monitor to see if it's okay, and it changes the entire the recording process, how records are done, how they sound. You know what I'm saying? Just because it's always in the details. Even like the fact that this trust can make your take closer to your next take, so your take sounds similar. Because like if it is in between time and you're sitting there waiting to make sure that I did what you asked me to do, it creates a extra time, sometimes double the amount of time to create a record. Like it's a completely trust is like everything.
Fast forward, you're currently working with French Montana. How did that relationship come about?
I had assisted some sessions for French at Platinum, like probably like 2018, but it wasn't until COVID where we really locked in. I was his COVID engineer. So at IMI Studios, I was the chief engineer at IMI, and I was the one who created the IMI, the recording situation there. So like we had the whole team there, and during COVID, everything shut down, and I was stuck at the studio. I couldn't leave the studio because the people in my life who were older, they had health deficiencies, and I couldn't even be around anybody. So me quarantining was like I would just stay in the studio, not go nowhere. We all been with each other for the last couple weeks. So everybody who was in the studio for the last couple of weeks, we all just locked down, and we was like, we staying here. And I think French was looking for a place where a lot of people were going to be there, that everybody was locked down, that it was safe, and it was taking they was keeping things sanitary seriously. And he found my facility, and we didn't even work with each other in a serious level yet. But he didn't even have opportunity to decide whether he trusted me or not. It was just like, the enemy is air and other people.
I love it. The enemy is air.
And other people. And we don't know what's happening.
Right.
I'm rocking with you. You know what I mean? It was like a random Armageddon partner. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine this a zombie apocalypse. And y'all just met each other out of nowhere. It was just like, all right, guess we rocking with each other. Like, we're going to make music. So that's what it was. And we locked in. And
which project was that?
I think we had, what do we do? I think we did the Coke Boys 5 joint. We did Fuck With Me Get a Bag, F With Me Get a Bag. And that was like a big like record too. That was fun. We was just working. We was working on a lot of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, like it was just like a bunch of music that we was working on. Like anything that we was doing, like any project that he was doing in quarantine, anything that happened like from 2020 on, I did something on there.
Right.
Something on the Fresh Montana project. And he was traveling, like after COVID was shut down, he was traveling, moving around, but I had a lot of responsibilities in New York City. I was in charge of certain facilities here and maintaining certain things. So I was just working with him when he came back to New York. But when last year I got some freedom to be able to move around and travel, and that's when he was just like, yeah, I'm rocking with you. So I just been like by his Miami crib working on new projects and new albums. And that's just mad fun because his life is like a big side quest.
Right.
Like my life is like a big side, just a whole bunch of side quests every day. So it's cool.
Good. When you're engineering, right? We talk about that relationship between the artist, right, and the engineer. How is it though working with a producer? Like when there's a chemistry of.
That's the best. You learn the most. Like I don't know about every other engineer or any other audio professional, but I learned the most from producers. Like that's when I learned like the things that I care about as an engineer too. Sonically, what matters, what's hitting, what's not. Their language is like the language that help us. You know what I mean? Because we have to learn both languages. Like we have to learn all types of different languages as an engineer. Like I gotta know the language of a vocal producer, you know what I'm saying? And then I gotta know the language of like how artists speak about music. I gotta learn how producers speak about music, And then there's ways that us as engineers we speak about music and speak about certain terms. But like the stuff that you get from producers is like gold. It's like the secrets. It's like all the secret sauce. It's like all the things that matter the most. The things that's the reason why they're producers. They're the ones who have the responsibility of turning in this record. Their name is the one. Their name is on this record. You know what I mean? So it's like they're in charge of quality control of making certain things sound good. So they know how to do that. So they teaching you when you work with them, you're learning about all types of different parts of the process that you might not even know before.
So a lot of people may not know that engineers do work hand in hand with producers.
Dude, that's traditionally what the whole thing was. Traditionally, the whole engineers knew the equipment on the technology level, and producers knew about equipment in a way, but they couldn't man the equipment and do their job effectively. So they had somebody hired to man the equipment and do the things that the producers said. And to us as engineers, if you all know the hierarchy of or who's on a total pole, or who has authority in the room, producers have the authority of the room above everybody else who's in the room, no matter who's in the room. You know, they may be even sometimes above label folks or whoever. Like a producer will tap you and be like, "Nah, I need you to do this," and you're gonna listen to the producer over everybody. At the end of the day, that's the difference between a beat maker and a producer. Is just the responsibility that you have. You are responsible for this record. If this record don't go well, you the one that we hired to make this record go well. You know, and producers were always like hired by the person who was trying to create the record, whether it be a label or whoever was in charge of selling the record or whatever. So their job was to make it right. And engineers and producers always had to work closely because we just knew how to use the technology to make a producer's vision or idea come to fruition and help them with that process. Because, you know, and producers get help from everybody.
Indeed.
You know, and traditionally, like they're the ones who's hiring the string quartet when they come in, or who's the guitarist, who's the they knew the best guitarist, they knew the best bassist. After you work on a project with a producer, you know the best bassist in town, you know the best guitarist in town, you know the best, you know everything about the album. You already got the album. You know who the best background singers who they are. You know how to stack things to make them sound like certain records that you may love that came out before. They have all the stories.
Indeed.
They got all the sauce. They got everything. Like producers. Like, they're like this.
Give me a producer that you worked very well with.
Oh, Jerry Wonder. Well, he's the owner of the space. So Jerry Wonder's the, you know, Maria, Hips Don't Lie, did everything Fuji's score, which is like what the 8th best-selling hip-hop album or something like that. Like you just being under him in just in any type of fashion. This whole space is designed for him to produce. This is a production house.
Right.
So as an engineer, this is like all you need to know. You know, we cutting drums, we cutting keys, we have everything here. You know what I'm saying? All the microphones, other engineers. You know what I'm saying? Like that's, you know, there you go. You know, I wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for Jerry or what he got going on here, you know. And that's big Fuji land. You learn all the Fuji stories.
Of course.
Yeah. You know, then you know everything you need to know. That as a professional, the shit that matters to me, the thing that always cool in me, like that's, you know, I got a lot of that from Jerry and his producers. And past that point, I still work with a whole bunch of producers. I work with London on the track now, and I'm learning stuff with him. He got somebody who's under him who's a producer named Jugo. He's doing all types of AI stuff. I'm like, what the hell is like, what's going on? I'm like, this can't be real. I walk out the room all the time like, nah, I'm out of here. Like, this can't be real.
Yes. But you welcome it.
And it's a producer, yeah, because it's a producer. Like, I'll sit, bro, it's a producer. He's 20 years old. I'm 36 years old. I'm sitting next to him like this. Like, I'm sitting next to him like this is me learning about everything that's important right now.
Right.
Like, it's gonna be a producer.
Right.
Like, it's gonna be a producer.
Right.
There's no way around that.
So you know, from the mindsets of an engineer, you know, once again, man, it is amazing that you can break this down, right, and show the amalgamation, right, of what it is to work with an artist, work with a producer, right, differentiate, right, that level of who's right on a top tier in that room at that time, who's second in charge, right?
You gotta know because if I'm in the room and there's 30 people in the room, everybody think that they my boss. Like everybody think they my boss, you know. And I make people feel that way. Like I love that feeling. Like I love that everybody feels like they my boss. But then it comes to the point where who's decision producer? That whoever he said is the person. And I tell everybody, yo, listen. Y'all need to talk to him then. If everybody confused, y'all all need to sit down and I say with the producer and y'all figure it out and have him come to me and let me know. When things get confusing, I'm always gonna go to producer.
Outside of hip hop, what other genres of music have you?
I'm a big R&B. I was Brandy's engineer for a few years. I did stuff on the B7 album, and then that's when you just learn about vocal producers and vocal production, and now they're producers too, but they just understand how to organize music and organize like different takes, and they know what's good and what's not good, and they help with the process of creating a record. They speed things up, You know, because the artists don't got to play back and hear it to make sure it sounds good or not. If they have their own trust, they gonna sing, and then the vocal producer's gonna say it was good. And I was working with Big Shiz, and Big Shiz, you know, R.I.P. He passed away. You talk about Michael Jackson, we talk about Brandy, we talk about super legends, and just like any other producer, they're producers too. So we learn. Now I learn what a unison take is, what a unison stack is. I learn how many takes Brandy needs for it to sound like the way that he wants it to sound. I'm learning invaluable stuff that I wouldn't learn. Just not saying you can't learn from working with an artist, but these guys are professionals. This is what they do every day, and their success is determined on like how they're making somebody else perform. And just that intention and being able to eavesdrop on that is like, that's it. Like, you know, and it's more than eavesdrop because I'm a part of the process. I'm doing something that somebody else is telling.
But here's the great
level of learning is like learning from activity from somebody like I'm a puppet. Somebody tell me to do something. I'm like, oh, that's fire. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna do that next session.
Right. But the key, right, is that the eavesdropping is really not that, right? Because it's a learning, right?
Yeah.
It's a learning tool that you have to learn, right? As you stated, now I'm gonna run with this one.
Yeah.
You know, my next session with such and such, I got this.
You really learn the difference between what like the average creator knows versus what these professionals knows. It's like it's a completely different. It's a big well of knowledge that now people are starting to experience because it's YouTube and you get information. But imagine there's just no YouTube and you out here making music. It's like there's no way in hell you're gonna know everything that a super producer is gonna know in that way, you know. So it's like I can't even explain it. Like that's the process, you know. That's the learning process, is getting in traffic and collaborating and figuring things out. I'm learning things today. I'm working with Max B. He's like, yo, no tune. We just gonna sing it however the fuck ever, and everybody's gonna love it. I promise you. I'm like, I bet everybody's loving it. Everybody's singing this shit however you know what I mean? Like you learn it. Like sometimes you learn that the shit that you've been learning. Yeah, you was working with Brandy. Y'all was doing fucking 8 stacks, and they all had a sound in tune. I bet fuck all that. We gonna do shit like this, and it's just gonna be just as significant. I'm like, okay, you learn that like. There's so much freedom. You could do almost anything, you know, if you know how to make it work. You know what matters and what doesn't matter.
Which makes a lot of sense. As a seasoned engineer, right? Sometimes you let your guards down, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's something new that you may learn, right?
Yeah, that's like the most humbling stuff. That's the stuff that brings you back to where you need to be. Mm-hmm. It's stuff like that. Like, oh, I thought I knew something. All these years of doing whatever the fuck, whatever accolades I've had or whatever I've done. Like today, all that doesn't mean as much as me opening my ears and paying attention to what somebody's telling me.
Indeed.
Easy, you know? And then when you get used to that, that's the thing, is that then you become really good at that. You become really good at letting your guards down and becoming humble when you need to because of so much practice every day. Right. Like I have to. I don't have a choice. Right. You know? And that's powerful, you know?
Knice, the technician. As we close out, right? Who, right, is one of your biggest inspirations as an engineer?
One of my biggest inspirations as an engineer. Well, I have to say Serge Sai, who's the chief engineer here, because of the things that matter to me, inspiration, like the fact that I could see him still working the way that he's working at the level he's working and working on the records that he's working on. You know, he's working with Nas. He's like Nas' engineer now. You know, and he's still going. I'm thinking I'm going. He going still. Like, you know, I can't catch up with him until he stops. So it's like it might not ever happen because I don't think he's ever gonna stop. And just the detail level of attention, community building, stuff like that. Like the records that he has done, like that's inspiring, you know. And lifestyle. I'm always trying to find out like people's lifestyles. Like, like what's your lifestyle? How's it working for you? So and as an engineer, sometimes you got to see how somebody else's. How you making this happen, bro?
Right.
You got daughters, you got like son, you got son, daughter. How you know? And so literally inspired by seeing his life and how he moves. I draw from it, and take what matters, what works for me, and you know that's inspiration to me. You know, and I'm never like I never was like a super fan person. Like, oh wow, you worked on this record. I'm super inspired by you now. Like,
Right,
it's like, It takes like super concrete, important things that matter. Like, I know what's valuable and what's not valuable. And nobody else's marketing is gonna make me feel like something's more valuable than it is. Like, I see the truth. I want to know, how are you taking care of your daughter? How are you taking care of your son? How did you get your daughter to law school? Like, while being an engineer, like, how do you and Jerry meet? How do you working on all these records? Like, what's your chain? Like, what's your sauce? Like, what mic you're using today? Like,
Right.
that's literally stuff like
Ethics.
I get that information from Serge Side. Yeah, Serge Side, chief engineer here.
Oh man, nice. I appreciate you, man. I salute you, man, and continue to inspire
For sure.
the lifestyles of an engineer. I thank you.
Appreciate you, my brother.
My guy. That was dope.
Right there.